Aloha, nerds, and welcome back to another episode of New Movie Tuesdays. I'm your host, Matt Salanoa. It's been a while since my last New Movie Tuesday. If you noticed, I apologize. If you didn't notice, well, that's what's been going on. It's been a while. Been trying to catch up on my TV show recordings, and yeah, it's been a time. Let me tell you that part of the reason I haven't seen a new movie is just because I've been very broke. Not that anyone necessarily wants to hear this, but I've been unemployed for over a year and a half. My best friend in this world treated me to a new movie today, and let me tell you, it was a really pleasurable experience. I saw 28 years later The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta, who last directed The Marvels, which I enjoyed very much. And no surprise to me that this would be a good film. I mean, I enjoyed The Marvels, but wow, was I surprised at how good the movie was, because I did enjoy 28 Years Later by Danny Boyle, but to me the movie, I had a bit of a disjointed experience with that because the audience was talking the whole time, and not the whole audience, but just this group of kids that would not shut up. So I really still can't tell if I enjoyed that movie or not. All I know is it left me with that great cliffhanger of the young boy throughout the story, stuck with these bizarre blonde wigged people in jumpsuits who were very good at killing the infected, but we don't know exactly what's going to go on here, you know. We know that the leader of this blonde-haired gang is the older version of Jimmy, the kid from the beginning of 28 Years Later in the flashback, who survives after watching his father be devoured by the infected and then lead the infected. There was a lot of apprehension and, of course, interest in seeing, well, where's this going to go now that this young kid who's grown up with the infected in his life, grown up on a little island, having gone through this whole journey where he loses his mother, but also is there to witness the birth of a baby from an infected, and all of these incredible things. And in 28 Years Later, we see the first time an infected has ever actually calmed down and been able to be communicated with, and it's when I'm forgetting the boy's name right now because everyone was called Jimmy. I really forgot his name. For the boy to be there and watch his mother figure out that the pregnant infected is able to be calmed and directed in the moment of giving birth. It was an incredible moment. And in this movie, the seeds of everything planted in 28 Years Later grow in the Bone Temple. I have to say, without spoiling too much, the rumors are true. 28 Years of the Bone Temple is an incredible picture. The whole cast and crew should be very proud of their work. Danny Boyle, wonderful job producing. Alex Garland, wonderful job writing. Nia DaCosta, dang. I have a feeling you're going to be one of those directors we're still talking about 10, 20 years from now after this movie. Obviously, it's much easier to make a good movie with a good script, but how you direct that script is everything. And what I thought was beautiful and touching about this movie is that while I enjoyed 28 Years Later, I felt it was very experimental. The Bone Temple, to me, was much more straightforward and more what I was expecting from a 28 Days Later sequel. So it's just the straightforward nature of the story, but also really feeling like I really felt like I got what I was sort of wanting out of the first movie. It was like, give me this little journey, give me this little story where I just get to spend time in one place with these interesting characters. And that's absolutely what I got. This movie is largely about the doctor from the first movie who builds the Bone Temple, played by Ralph Fiennes, and how wonderful Ralph Fiennes is in this movie. Having grown up with him playing so many villains, whether they're likable, whether they have some kind of human component to them being beside the point. Having seen him play so many villains, like Gary Oldman being Jim Gordon, that was to me the experience of Ray Fiennes as Dr. Ian Kelsor. I'm messing up on the last name. I apologize. I literally just got out of the movie and wanted to talk about it. Watching him in both movies, but absolutely this movie, it just really took me away. I was like, wow, I'm just lost in this movie with this seemingly mad doctor covered in red iodine talking to zombies, but there's this beautiful story of him and Samson, the alpha from 28 years later, who is like the T-Rex chasing around the boy and his mother for the whole movie. But seeing the doctor tranquilize Samson and kind of experiment with him, that's as much as I kind of want to get into it. But if you've seen Day of the Dead, there's the storyline of the doctor and Bubba trying to find the pathway to getting zombies to communicate and be human again. And I absolutely love and adore Day of the Dead. It's up until this point been my favorite zombie movie. Maybe it still is, but definitely the Bone Temple is now up there. For me, it's always been Day of the Dead, 28 Days Later, and Train to Busan is just my top zombie movies. And now Bone Temple is up there. Really, I really love just this, that the movie really does have a focused story. We're really strictly following what's going on with the doctor and Samson and what's going on with the boy and the Jimmies. And the boy becomes a Jimmy. That's why I can't remember his name, because now he's gone from the boy to Jimmy. But that's not his name. I can't remember your name anymore, because Jimmy, the whole Jimmy character really, he's our Joker for this movie. He's our terrifying chaos villain. Not what I expected from the young boy who's the son of the parishioner at the beginning of 28 Years Later. I do just wonder what was his journey to becoming like this, But in a way, I like that the movie doesn't tell us. He does basically say what he feels he saw happen. And that sort of is the inference for how he became this way. But nonetheless, just the ride of watching the Jimmies, who turn out to be this terrifying Clockwork Orange group of just young terrorist people. They're just going around maiming and killing people, and the boy is stuck with them. To watch that journey be on this collision course with the doctor and Samson, and this kind of surprisingly beautiful story of a doctor and his zombie, his zombie buddy, kind of just a little bit of, I wish there was a sequel to Shaun of the Dead where we just get to see Shaun and Nick Frost, as a zombie getting along for a whole movie. So there's a little bit of that fantasy fulfillment there. Like, what would that look like as a movie? It's here in this movie. I think I really appreciate 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, for giving me a little bit of things we haven't seen in a while in film, mixed with a bit of stuff that I always wish I'd seen in a zombie movie, or I wish I saw more fleshed out, because the doctor and Bubba in Day of the Dead is not a slim subplot, but it's not something you see a lot of. You just see kind of a couple scenes, and it's really about what the other characters represent in the film, which, if you haven't seen Day of the Dead, directed by George A. Romero, although it's not stated in the movie, essentially George A. Romero's concept is that people are really not all that peaceful to begin with, that essentially the zombies are a metaphor for commercialism and the degradation of society, where also the last surviving group of people are scientists, essential workers, and the military. And even though they are the last bastion of society, even they can't find a way to get along, knowing that there's no one else to, pick sides with, which I think is just George A. Romero has very clearly defined what we're experiencing right now in society is that, despite everything we've come to develop with science and technology and medicine, we're still just struggling to get along as people and find any way to have common ground. What I think is beautiful about the Bone Temple is I feel like it's this beautiful little nucleus that just kind of focuses on the doctor aspect, the doctor and his zombie, who's not his pet or just his experiment. It's his zombie friend. Literally, there's a scene of Ray Fiennes dancing with Samson the zombie. And I'm like, man, how did we get here? But also, I know how we got here, and also, I love it. I kind of love it. The fact that the movie gets me here, and not only am I not challenging it, but I'm like, I'm with it. Like, this movie's crazy. I don't want to expose why. For spoiler free, how this movie just how this movie flows. I think the movie has a very natural flow. Although there's shocking and uncomfortable scenes, I think it's always done very tastefully where we know it's a movie, so we don't need to see all the gruesome things that happen. I think 28 years later, the previous movie was way more brutal and gruesome than this one, although I think this movie kept enough of the expected 28 days later violence in it. I do think it handled the harder to watch stuff very tastefully because we're not directly seeing a lot of it. We're just understanding that that's what these Jimmies are up to. They're up to some bad stuff. They're bad hombres, you know. But seeing the collision course of this beautiful story of a doctor and a zombie friend inevitably colliding, how it comes to a conclusion is epic in a very unexpected and beautiful way. Literally a musical sequence. I that may sound bizarre, but if you watch the movie when we get there, it is to me the highlight of the movie. Worth the price of admission moments, okay? The whole movie. But worth the price of admission moments is every single scene of discovery that the doctor has with Samson, but also every single scene of our leader, our satanic leader, Jimmy, who leading these young people around on this evil quest. His scenes are they're just delicious. He's so wicked. It's so well performed. And his conclusion is beautifully delivered as well. Every scene is given its signature moment of, if it's about madness, it has a signature bit of performance out of this actor and out of everybody reacting to it as well. But I think this is the most visceral experience I've had, not just comparing it to 28 Days Later, but like, I'm talking about Fistful of Dollars. When I saw Fistful of Dollars, Clint Eastwood coming into the small little town, and the town has two leaders, two criminal leaders, pitting them both against each other, and ultimately watching his work come to fruition, which is one of the gangs absolutely annihilating the other. And it is a horrible scene that even Clint Eastwood's like, dang, this is not this is not all I thought it would be. I thought it would be me pulling the trigger. Instead, it's this horrific, heinous scene of slaughter. And sort of with that kind of in mind, like this movie has that 60s level of human horror, like, look at what people do to each other, you know, which is a constant of reality itself. That being an aspect of this movie, I think is incredibly powerful, but also the beauty. I think this movie is so well balanced. You know, I don't have a double-sided knife like Thanos and Gamora. Balance, you know, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. This movie is so well balanced with the horror and the beauty in a way that I think it's everything that 28 Days Later, that first movie, gave us. But I think because we're going into this sort of expanded world, this larger canvas with more stories to come, I think the Bone Temple is just a very beautifully balanced movie that is about life itself and how to look at life. I think everything that the first 28 years later, again, everything it establishes, I feel this movie grows very beautifully. So yeah, without spoiling anything more than that, I think this is a very tastefully done, really well made movie. I'm Nia DaCosta. You did it. You did it. And I think the best thing she did was the delivery of the music sequences. And I'm really talking about the finale. The delivery of that sequence was so incredible. I think maybe not necessarily every director would have delivered as good of a scene, but I think this really felt this final sequence with the music that I'm talking about. It's epic, and I just think she really delivered the goods and knew exactly where to put the camera. And Ray Fiennes, dude, like, forget Voldemort, dude. Forget Voldemort. This Dr. Ian, I'm just calling him Dr. Ian, the Bone Temple dude, is definitely my favorite role that he's played. Hats off. Hats off, Ray Fiennes. And hats off to that song. So, as spoiler free as I can get, I just really thoroughly enjoyed 28 Years of the Bone Temple. And on a personal note, it really did take me away from my problems for a minute, and I really appreciated that, and I appreciate my friend. It's been a long year and a half, and I'm just grateful to have a roof over my head and food in my stomach. Just on a personal note, I just really appreciated the movie. So that's what I got to say for spoiler free. At some point, my spoiler full video will come out. I don't know exactly when yet, because I'm trying to get a lot of content out right now. I have recorded a lot of stuff I'm very excited to put out. I just have to actually do it, So bear with me. That's why everything's a bit disjointed. But yeah. But also, that's what I got to say. Check out Bone Temple. Hopefully I'll see you next time.